I would rather have an imperfect candidate than Spencer Pratt. This is a man who blew his fortune on crystals, a man who has a rich history of inappropriate behavior with non-consensual images. He has demonstrated time and time again that he only cares about his own best interests. And I can empathize with the sudden loss of a home and how that feels. But with Spencer Pratt, he is more than anything running from something rather than running for something. And I'd rather select a mayor that is going to bring us closer to collective liberation than Spencer Pratt, who's going to bring us a reality TV show.
Hey, okay, so I got to go on CNN last night. I got to go on CNN with Alex Michelson, and we got to talk about one of my favorite topics of all time. So the first topic we started with was the Senate primary runoff race in Texas, really kind of like a quick exchange. I shared my take on it. And then next, we spent a little bit of time talking about the LA mayoral. LA and city government is one of those things I could yap your ear off on for days. You may not know this about me, but local level activism, in particular, going to the chamber floors of LA City Hall, protesting at LA City Hall, was really kind of what laid the groundwork for me to eventually transition into this type of work. I started my political journey on local level activism by spending years protesting outside of City Hall, eventually speaking up at HOA meetings in my community, experiencing the total loss of my home with no insurance coverage. And that was something that really threw me deeper into my advocacy work. I've spoken at the LA City budget hearings for many years. I know it like the back of my hand. Willa has also come with me to those. So that was essentially like my make-a-wish. If I could have a make-a-wish, it would be put me on CNN, let me go head to head with a Republican man who's backing Spencer Pratt, which, you guys, can we really? Can anyone look me in the eye and say Ken Paxton is their boy or Spencer Pratt is their boy? So I knew I had it in the bag. But of course, you never know. You never know if you're going to choke. So, and the way I feel about these things is like fearless, where it's like, I'm only going to get better by doing them. Just throwing myself in the ring, practicing, preparing as best I can. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think. Let's stay on CNN and just let them know you got to have Loren back. We want more Loren. Let other people know, because I'm trying to make the rounds. We're trying to really do this whole thing, and it takes all of us. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. You guys got me there, so thanks.
Let's bring in our political panel. On the left is Loren Piretra as the host of the Loren Show podcast, and on the right is attorney Matt Billinsky, host of the Prevailing Narrative podcast. Welcome to you both. Welcome to CNN for the very first time. We appreciate having you here. Matt, let's start with you. Is President Trump making his life more complicated and making the life of Republicans more complicated by backing Paxton instead of Cornyn?
There's a strong argument that he is, right? Because in contrasting this with the recent Kentucky congressional race, in which Donald Trump was very influential on, there was a big distinction between the two candidates. Here, you look at John Cornyn, you look at Ken Paxton, from the eyes of a Texan who doesn't have a dog in the fight about loyalty to Donald Trump necessarily, is there really a big difference policy-wise, approach-wise between the two politicians, other than one seems to be more endeared to Donald Trump? There's not a lot. So is Donald Trump just picking a fight that is kind of unnecessary, just as a test of, just to show that you have to be unduly loyal, universally loyal to him, where there's no room for any disagreement whatsoever? That could be the case. And also probably a pretty weak Democratic candidate that either of these two are going to go up against, but maybe giving James Tallarico a little bit of daylight that there's, dissension on the Republican side. So it might not be the best fight for Donald Trump to pick right now.
Your thoughts?
I'm quite excited about this race. Donald Trump, being the agent of chaos that he is, has essentially put his thumb on the scale for the most unlikable candidate possible. We have Ken Paxton, somebody who makes people like Ted Cruz look angelic. And then on the other hand, we have James Tallarico, somebody who is arguably pretty angelic himself, a Christian man, somebody who's been able to mobilize a base in Texas and who's led a life of service. And what this is going to end up costing Republicans is it's going to cost them, one, a lot of money that they didn't anticipate having to spend defending the Senate seat in Texas. And it's also going to cost them the loyalty of the incumbent. For what? For Donald Trump's ego, so that way he can continue to defend the January 6th coup. I'm quite grateful for Trump in this instance for his own self-sabotaging.
I mean, because it is interesting. The conventional wisdom is that Cornyn would be easier as somebody to defeat Tallarico, and that the Republicans would have to spend a lot less money on that race. Now, to back, if Taxon gets it, they may have to back him with a lot more money, which takes money away from some of the other competitive races out there. We'll see. We'll have election results tomorrow night at this time here on The Story Is. Let's talk for a moment about Spencer Pratt, who is running for mayor here in Los Angeles. And on your podcast, the latest episode is actually breaking down our recent interview with Spencer Pratt. On your podcast, the latest episode is your interview with Spencer Pratt. Yes. This is something that is making national news all over the country, incredible amount of clicks online. And one of the things that you highlight is in our recent interview with Pratt, he lays out his plan for homelessness, essentially saying we got to get the homeless out of Los Angeles and get treatment somewhere else. Here's some of that exchange. So your plan is to require homeless people to go to a facility outside the city of Los Angeles, potentially in the desert.
I didn't say desert. I said beautiful nature. The desert's hot. That sounds brutal. I was thinking more like.
So where?
You know, I'm going to have to meet with the federal government when I'm mayor and look at the most beautiful property we can get and get that. But it's going to be somewhere where people will go and they go, thank God for Spencer. This is the greatest thing in the United States of America. Everyone needs to copy this model.
Loren Piretra, your thoughts on that?
I mean, first of all, Alex, I have to commend you for maintaining your composure during that interview. That's not what I can say. Same for me. I haven't seen that level of chaos in a candidate interview or in a celebrity interview since the Charlie Sheen Tiger Blood moment. Spencer essentially is suggesting that we take the unhoused and ship them up into a camp outside of his jurisdiction, which he's essentially suggesting internment camps, more or less, work camps. And we've seen this before in history when we take a group that's deemed undesirable and move them out of sight and into a new space, and it's never looked favorably upon us. I think what we really need in LA is a mayor that's competent and not concerned with content.
You think that's what he's suggesting?
No, not at all. And in fact, if you go and look at historically, and people have short memories, right? Because if you look at the trajectory of Los Angeles over the past 30 years, 80s, early 90s, crime and homelessness was incredibly high. Then starting about 1992 to 1994, both crime and homelessness begin to plummet for about 20, 22 years. All of a sudden, it starts to tick up right around 2014 once again. Seems to serve our purposes to go look at what worked during that period and what worked in the opposite direction to have it start ticking up again. And if you go speak with people in the district attorney's office, and these are people that are Democrats, one, for instance, candidate for city attorney John McKinney, African-American man who's been in the DA's office for over 35 years through many different waves of crime and homelessness in Los Angeles, says, listen, people can tell themselves all the comforting delusions that they want about how people who are addicts, who have drug problems, who are homeless, how they solve that problem. A lot of these people, they got the treatment that they needed once they got arrested. Okay, you can sit there and say that, oh, we should just have them, cart them into treatment centers, and they should get the help that they need without, any consequences for the criminal behavior that they're engaging in. That's not how it works, right? So these people, more likely, there's not an inalienable right to be able to live wherever you want in public spaces, and to say that the government, that the people of Los Angeles cannot regulate those public spaces. So to say that if you want the government's help, if you want resources that are paid by the public teat, by tax dollars, that you have to go to a certain area to get those services, I'm not seeing where there's anything wrong with that.
You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're aligned on the fact that, yes, this is a complex humanitarian crisis, one that needs to be met with not only respect and competence and dignity, but also with a level of experience. Homelessness is not a problem that's unique to Los Angeles. This is a complex issue that exists throughout the United States. So we need a mayor that's going to be concerned with solving the crisis and with addressing these things and the systemic issues. And from a fiscal responsibility, even if you don't care about the humanitarian aspect, it is much easier and more cost-effective to prevent people from falling into cycles of homelessness to begin with than to invest in over-policing and incarceration and pipelines that leave people more traumatized when they exit.
Okay, well, we can look at experience and we can look at fiscal responsibility. And once again, these aren't things we have to speculate upon. We have data points. We have the recent history to look back upon. Everybody forgets this. 2016, like I said, homelessness began to tick back up. 2014, 2015. 2016, they put it to the voters of Los Angeles. Let's pass Measure Triple H to fund $1.2 billion in homeless financing. That was supposed to go to building 10,000 units of homeless housing to get people into those houses. In about 6 years, how many out of the 10,000 units do you think they built? Barely over 1,000, okay? During that period, while we blew through $1.2 billion, the homeless population doubled. So if we're looking at experience and fiscal responsibility, the people that are running this city, the people that were put in charge of that $1.2 billion, they clearly don't know what they're doing, and they're not using the money fiscally responsibly. In fact, they spent double as much to have the problem double in size.
Quickly, your case for Spencer Pratt.
I think that we can look at the many disaffected voters and look at how this city has been run over the past 10, 15 years. And if you want, once again, you want to talk experience, okay, let's talk about results. Things have gone in the wrong direction in nearly every metric. Of course, they want to say, like, okay, crime has gone down over the past couple of years. Yes, from the massive increases that we saw while the social fabric was being frayed during the pandemic. So if you're looking at a disaffected voter and someone who's saying, you know something, this way of doing business and the machine that's been running the city for the last 10, 15 years, Spencer Pratt, the reason he has this energy, he's the only one who's willing to speak boldly about it.
Real quickly.
Yeah, I think, listen, I would rather have an imperfect candidate than Spencer Pratt. This is a man who blew his fortune on crystals, a man who has a rich history of inappropriate behavior with non-consensual images. He has demonstrated time and time again that he only cares about his own best interests. And I can empathize with the sudden loss of a home and how that feels. But with Spencer Pratt, he is more than anything running from something rather than running for something. And I'd rather select a mayor that is going to bring us closer to collective liberation than Spencer Pratt, who's going to bring us a reality TV show.
We are out of time, but it's great to have both of you. Hope to have you both back here. Loren, Matt, thank you so much. We'll be back with more of the story.